Okay, well, I think it's been 5 seconds, so I will go ahead and welcome everyone. This is a public meeting of Hanover College Division of Arts and Letters Advisory Review Panel, convened to review the FY22 Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Support and Arts Organization Support Grant Program applications for Region 12. I'm Paige Sharp. I'm the Deputy Director of Programs for the Indiana Arts Commission, and I'm coming to you from Indianapolis. Today is April 20th. It's around 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we are meeting on live and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. Those online, please note that the list of application is located in the YouTube description, because we will be removing this document here shortly. There will be no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting, and this meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I will individually invite each of the panelists and then our staffer to introduce themselves. Panelists will state their name, occupation, and where they are from in the state, and then staff will state their title and role. So let's start with the panel, and I will start by introducing each of you by your first name so that you can share about yourself. And let's get started with Kendra.
Good morning. My name is Kendra Bosler, and I'm a consultant to the regulatory and medical device engineering fields. I'm from Batesville, Indiana, and I will be part of the panel for both the AOS and the APS this morning.
Great. Thank you, Kendra. Starla?
Good morning. I'm Starla Rayleigh, and I'm from Madison, and I'm a musician in the area, a pianist and organist, and I teach at Ivy Tech, and I'm reviewing today AOS and APS.
Great, thank you, Starla. Lindsey?
Hi, I'm Lindsey Wade-Swift. I'm the Program and Finance Manager with the Washington County Community Foundation in Washington County, and I also will be reviewing both the AOS and the APS.
Great, thank you, Lindsey. Barbara?
I'm Barbara Hobson. I live in Floyd Knobs, Indiana. I'm a retired educator with 41 years of varied experiences. I am an AOS panelist and looking forward to this. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Rita?
Hi, my name is Rita Height. I live in Lanesville, Indiana. I'm a retired teacher in theater and English and an actress, singer, dancer, and director. And I've been on the panel now for 4 or 5 years, and I'm currently enrolled at NYU at Tisch School for the Arts.
Great, thank you, Rita. Kathy?
Hi, my name is Kathy Lincourt, and I live in Greensburg, Indiana. I am a retired music educator with 34 years of experience as far as that's concerned, but I've been very involved in theater, and I'm currently on the board of Tree County Players here in Greensburg, and have acted in various capacities, including president.
Great, and what are you reviewing, or did you say?
No, I didn't. I apologize. I'm a first timer here. I am reviewing APS.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Kathy. Jane?
Hi, I'm Jane Stormer. I live in Hanover, Indiana. I'm a visual artist here and been living here for, almost 17 years. I am reviewing APS applications.
Okay, great. Thank you, panel. And then we have a couple staff with us today. Elsa, if you want to give your name and what your title and role are.
Hi, my name is Elsa Conboy, and I am the Region 12 grant coordinator. Have been involved with the grant program now, in some form since 2011. So welcome to everyone.
Great, thank you. And Chapin?
Hi, Chapin Schnick. I'm at the Arts Commission, the Contracts Operations and IT Assistant, and I'm just here for tech help.
Great, thank you, Chapin. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So this is how the process is going to work. We will first review the applications for arts project support, and then we'll move on to arts organization support. I will explain the process for each. However, I'll be going over the process for arts organization support just before we review those applications, as that process is very different. And Chapin, if you wouldn't mind just going and removing the document from the screen, great. Thank you so much. So for arts project support, which is where we will start our review, I will announce the application that we'll be reviewing and then ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the, excuse me? Okay, they'll be reviewing based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective. If you're not talking at this time, go ahead and mute your mic just so it's easier for me to communicate. Thank you. Okay, so the first reader will provide their assessment, and then I'll invite the second reader to provide their assessment. They'll just be providing any new or additional or opposing comments. And once they're done, I'll open up to the full panel to go ahead and provide any additional comments. And once they're done, go ahead and update your scores. Oftentimes, based upon that fuller discussion, panelists may wish to update their scores. And I do want to note that all the panelists have read the application. So panelists, you don't need to provide a recap. Just go ahead and provide your comments for the application itself. If we do have a conflict of interest, we'll go ahead and put them in the waiting room for the application for which they have a conflict, and then bring them back once we're done. And let's see, I think that's pretty much it. So any questions before we begin? All right, cool. Well, then I'm going to switch over to my other document. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and get started with the Charleston Clark County Public Library, and our first reader is Starla. Starla, why don't you kick this off for us?
All right, the Charleston County Public Library has a project that is quite wide in scope, as you've seen, oceans of possibility. My comments are that I especially like that they specifically know their theme for this summer. And it clearly also shows the credentials of the artists involved. I thought that was very strong. And then also the fact that it includes the entire community. There's a group for teenagers, a group for younger students, and even a program for adults. And I believe that's all I had. Thank you.
Great, then our second reader is Rita. Our second reader is Rita.
Yes, I was just the artistic quality. I thought the photographic documentation included was wonderful and displays the joy of the different aged participants as they complete their artistic projects. It would have been helpful to have some documentation of works in progress. Even though this is their first year, they might have used some photographs from previous grants to show how their different projects progress. The planning process was thoughtful and clearly described. Provisions for community input as well as surveys to measure the success of the program have been described, and examples of the planned community surveys and descriptions are photographs of the various accommodations for diverse populations would have been helpful. They didn't go into that as much as I think they could have. The project sounds like it will provide much needed enrichment, engagement, and satisfaction for the underserved community. More online visuals such as posters and flyers promoting their program would help increase the community awareness of this particular project and reach more potential participants. Pictures of adult participants in promotional flyers and online posts would also be helpful. They said they would address that, and they had a lot of children, but it's also going to be for adults, and it would be neat to see adults interacting with some of their projects. I did have a question about the budget. The numbers didn't quite go together, and as you progress with this project, it would be helpful to look at your numbers. They didn't all add up to the amount of money that you designated, $900 for 5 programs times 4 weeks, and the amount given was $3,600. General comments. This is a unique concept that addresses art and science simultaneously, which is a great idea. It sounds like an exciting addition to pre-existing library programs and will provide enjoyment and enrichment for diverse populations and participants.
Great, thank you so much, Rita. Any other comments from the rest of the panel? Barbara, I think you're on mute.
Yep, there we go. This is Barbara. And find the as a senior adult, it would inspire me to take one of the adult classes.
Great, thank you. Other comments?
I was going to add that as a library, it would have been really interesting to hear more information about how they could include data from who they serve in the community and who they're reaching out to, and how they're planning their event, how they're selecting themes and things like that by polling people that come to the library. I was also kind of concerned. I don't think I saw a notation for materials in the costs list, and just wanted to make sure they considered that in the overall costs.
Very helpful. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, go ahead and update your scores, and then we'll move on to the next application. Is everybody ready? Nod your head if you are. Yeah. Okay, great. We'll move on to City of Jeffersonville Public Art Commission, and our first reader is Jane.
Okay, well, with the City of Jeffersonville, they're planning a sticky note arts campaign to display submitted sticky note art in a public space in Jeffersonville. I thought this was a really creative project, and I like how they were focusing in on making art a truly accessible thing to where anyone who has a sticky note could submit art, and is really bringing public art to the public and engaging in more community and involvement and engagement in the arts. They seem to be run by some really great city officials and artists. They have plenty of staff to see this project through. Their budget is going towards things like the placard itself, the metal sticky note display, installation, a ceremony, and prizes, and that seemed to be in line. There wasn't much detail, and this is the main suggestion I would have for this. Not a lot of detail about how people would submit their sticky notes. And that's kind of the tricky thing about submissions, is to make it accessible. We really need to see the process of how you submit the work. So having a sample submission form or walking us through how the submission process works would help us know more about if the artists being served are from Indiana in this region, or if they're visitors passing through town. It would also help us know if it's truly accessible, noting things like having a prepaid envelope available so that people can mail in their sticky notes so that they don't have to access transportation to deliver it in hand. But really kind of thinking through that whole process and presenting it for us would be really helpful. And that is all I have.
Great. Thank you so much, Jane. Lindsay?
I echo a lot of what Jane said. One of my comments was that I think a large sector of the community will be involved not only with submitting sticky notes, but enjoying the artwork for those who are not artists, because there's no restriction on age or socioeconomic. I mean, this is just something for the entire community. One of the things I said, it didn't really financially benefit an artist, but it doesn't create a financial burden on anyone submitting artwork either. It's a sticky note and pen. So those were my main things on that Jane did not mention.
Great, thank you. Other comments? Any new or different or opposing? Barbara?
Unmute. Yes, I just had one question. Does the grant have a determined criteria for judging? And will the criteria be followed by each judging level?
Gotcha, thank you. Kathy?
My comment was that I wasn't clear as to, we have the artists who are creating this, but was there any mention of the actual artist who will be transferring this to the sculpture itself? Because that involves some artistic work too.
Excellent, thank you, Kathy. Starla?
I had something to say similar to what Kathy said, that I didn't get the name of the artist who will actually be making the metal sculpture or his or her credentials. And then I couldn't really visualize the exact location of where the sculpture with the sticky notes on it will be, and then where will the finished product with the winner's vinyl wrap be installed. That would be helpful to see.
Great, thank you. Any other feedback? Very constructive. Go ahead and update your scores. Okay, great. Everybody ready? Got your application queued up for, oh, seem to be echoing a little bit, my apologies. So there was Jeffersonville, and then we're gonna go to, is it Crawford County School Corporation, and our first reader is Bobby. Bobby. Who is
It's
Bobby?
Barbara.
Oh, Barbara, sorry. There was a typo on there, and I'm like, wait, is my vision that bad? No. And I'm like, who's Bobby? All right,
Well,
Barbara.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's my pleasure. The artistic students engaging in art are an essential milestone in their growth and development to their life experience. In my opinion, Crawford County Community School Corporation presents a plan with the direction of experienced artist Sandy Walker, and she will develop the K-5 students creatively and artistically. Community support, research supports the arts as a necessary part of a well-rounded education. I applaud the efforts to invite the community populace of students, staff, family members, and the community to attend their presentations measured by social media, community, and staff input. Of course, COVID being involved in this time period, the in-person participation would be limited depending on restrictions. The outreach is positive, and it generates an interest to everyone. And the grant accurately documents the populace it serves.
Thank you, Barbara, or Bobby. Kathy?
I would like to clarify, this is the West Crawford Elementary, correct?
East.
East.
This is the East Crawford Elementary.
Okay, I pulled up the wrong thing. I apologize.
Sorry, yeah, and I'm saying that there are two of those. Gotcha. I didn't use the whole statement.
All right, I was impressed with this. I applaud them for getting arts into their community and to their schools, where I'm assuming that that might be rather limited in their school corporation. They have really made it a very important thing that they're doing here. I would say I was not real clear about the experiences that some of these artists had, or educational. It might be nice to list some of those things. I like the way it's impacting the senior community by their participation with going out and taking things to them. But I also think that I wonder if there's any feedback that those senior communities could give in those areas. So to have the community participate just a little bit more, even if it's a survey or some kind of form like that. This is the 7th year something like this is presented, and I think it's good to have that experience. And it seems to be that it is somewhat varied each year. It might be nice to have some particulars on the budget as far as the $1,400 with art and music supplies. For example, how much do 300 canvases cost? And that should help with keeping them right on budget as far as their planning is concerned. I think that's all I have.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Any other comments from the rest of the panel? Rita?
Once again, it's a very valuable project, and I've done it for 7 years. I thought that both online and printed marketing materials for the arts programs would help increase the awareness in the community of this program. Use of pictures of the classes and programs past included on social media and in parent communications would aid in the growth of this project. So it would continue to serve more and more people, and more community members would be aware of what was going on.
Great, thank you. Other comments? Jane?
I was just going to add, I think it's really important for inclusivity to make sure that when they're talking about doing a play about Thanksgiving, to really give good detail about the kind of message that's being put out in that play. There were pictures of children dressed up as like the pilgrims. And I really would have appreciated if they had mentioned that they would not be dressing students up in Native attire, which can be seen as cultural appropriation. And I included in my comments some links to different resources about teaching the Thanksgiving story with also a Native American lens. So just wanted to add that in there.
Great feedback, Jane. Kendra?
My comment was that I did not quite understand how experiences from the past events have really shaped the program for this year. So what kind of feedback have they received? How have they incorporated that feedback into designing the program for this year?
Great, thank you. Other comments? Starla?
See. I wasn't really sure that the application said what the credentials of the teacher was. Is she primarily a musician, an actor, or a painter? And I wasn't so certain if there is a teacher employed by the school system here, or if this was a supplementary, if the grant money only is going to paying the teacher here. So.
Other panelists see that information in the application? Okay. All right. Well, go ahead and update your scores for Crawford County School Corporation, East Crawford Elementary. And then we'll be moving on to Greater Clark County Schools when you're ready. Everybody good to go? All right, we'll go ahead and move to Greater Clark County Schools, and our first reader is Kendra.
Okay. So I felt that the purpose of this big idea project was clear and that the benefit to the students was well supported, as well as being multifaceted, from providing viewing of a live theatrical experience to supporting the understanding of history to engaging these students in the field of science. I believe the format of the project is exciting since it could be adapted to both a virtual experience as well as an in-person experience, depending on the needs of the school, the students, or the artist at the time that it's presented, and that it supports Indiana artists as well. I believe that it's a well-developed project that will benefit the Greater Clark County School high ability students and enforce the mandated state curriculum standards, as well as promoting interest in history and science. Additionally, I felt that the applicant did a tremendous amount of due diligence in planning this project based on input of experts in the fields of education, giftedness, history, theatrical experiences, and most notably from the students themselves. I believe that the methods of measuring the project's impact at the conclusion of the event will be very robust as well. And really, I want to compliment the applicant on really trying to figure out a program that will reach and engage women and minority students who are underrepresented in the fields of science. So I felt it was creatively developed to address the barriers of these underrepresented populations, as well as those with twice exceptionalities in scientific disciplines. And overall, I felt the timeline and budget and the organization of this project looked reasonable. The only thing that I noted that I would recommend would be that if there were costs for materials or licenses to be part of this program, that they be included in the budget as well as the honorariums for the presenters.
Great, thank you so much, Kendra. Starla?
See if I can get both of these here. I always appreciate STEAM instead of just only STEM. I say only STEM because it's just so nice to have the arts included with everything. And I think this application clearly stated what is going to be planned. I'm seeing the live performance of Thomas Edison. I liked the uploaded materials and I watched the video. I thought it was very, very nice. And I like the fact that the students will work on their own performance of any scientist of their choice, or Thomas Edison. And also, I think that the credentials of the artists were clearly stated and impressive.
Great, thank you, Starla. Other comments from the panel? Kathy?
I thought the way that they, and most people have done this group really thought about if we continue on in a pandemic attitude, I guess is the best way to put it, but with restrictions, that they have really kind of thought out that they could have this online or live, and the interactions speak to the need to be flexible in these times of pandemic.
Great, thank you, Kathy. Barbara?
Yes, I just wanted to point out that the National Association for Gifted Children, which this program will address, refers to the arts as essential to the balanced education with the benefits for these children. And I think that this theme-based project will develop those students very well. And they get, having taught these children will become just totally engrossed in this and will benefit immensely.
Great, thank you. Jane?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on, well, I do appreciate, working with advanced students. It could create a bit of access issue to this program by only essentially including students who are in those advanced programs, which are historically not diverse. So maybe if that is the direction they're going to continue to go in, to consider taking nominations from other teachers in the area, in the district, for students who are strong in the sciences, but may not be in that advanced program.
Great feedback, Jane. Other comments? Great, go ahead and update your scores for Greater Clark County Schools and then queue up the next application, which is Jefferson High School Instrumental Band Boosters. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started with Jeffersonville High School Instrumental Band Boosters, Inc. And our first reader is Rita. Oh, there she goes.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, the Jefferson High School Band Booster. I was 15th or 16th year of this project. The project to match Jefferson High School band students with accomplished musicians is a valuable educational experience and has worked well for many years. The professional musicians, for the most part, are listed as attending U of L or members of the Louisville Orchestra, which is great. Selecting musicians from Indiana artists would strengthen the goals of the Indiana Arts Commission grants, I thought. The new picture that they mention about Marilyn Nietzsche interacting with high school students was mentioned, but I didn't see it. Community engagement, the use of student feedback during the process on how instruction is going is excellent, as is the use of state competitions and adjudications that have been part of this program for many years. Students have the opportunity to receive excellent instruction and valuable input from a variety of sources according to their plan. This music education program has provisions to well-serve students from the economically underserved population, but specific modifications for serving students with disabilities, particularly physical disabilities, has not been fully addressed. Project management. The amount of money paid to the artist instructors seems reasonable. Are there additional funds somewhere to help students pay for the rental of their instruments? General comments. The marketing materials are well displayed on social media, and prominent information about this wonderful program, which provides regular professional music lessons for students from underserved communities, is not highlighted on their online marketing, which I think would expand the interest in the community.
Great, thank you so much, Rita. And our next reader is Jane.
I'll ditto Rita on everything, and just add a little bit more, that it is important to really give detail about how your program is seeking to be non-discriminatory. Listing things like how you're seeking out diverse artists to participate, how you're seeking out music that's composed by diverse artists to perform, and then to share more information about how the program has removed barriers to student participation, and perhaps even showing how your anti-discrimination policy is paying off, and outlining the demographics of the students that have participated with the overall school demographics to show that comparison. And then even showing progress over the years towards those non-discriminatory goals.
Thank you, Jane. Other comments? Kathy?
Yes, I have spent a lot of time as a music educator, and one of the statements that has been made is that many of your students will go on to have a career in music. Making a statement like that, it would be nice to have some percentages of those people that have gone on to make a career in music. But that being said, is that really the function of this, or is it hopefully to foster a love and a lifelong participation in the arts rather than to have a career?
Great, thank you, Kathy. Other comments? Oh, Lindsey?
Just one thing I noted was I noticed in the application that through the pandemic, they were continuing to do things virtually. And I put that, I was happy to see that, and students were able to funnel their creative ability in a time when they needed it most.
Yeah. Other comments? Great, go ahead and update your scores for the Jeffersonville High School Instrumental Band Boosters, and then queue up the next application, the actual final application for Arts Project Support this morning, and that's for Crawford County School Corporation, West Crawford Elementary. Looks like everybody's ready, so we'll go ahead and move on to Crawford County School Corporation, unless I'm wrong. Just shout it out. Crawford County School Corporation, West Crawford Elementary, and our first reader is Kathy.
Well, I thought the listing of the purposes for this project is very well done, and there have been many years of this project. Although with, again, the differences in COVID, it might have been a little bit nicer to see what flexibilities they have shown if COVID restrictions are still in place and what modifications they would have for that. They stated that they have an arts awareness team, and I think that is such a good idea that there is a team that is in place for all the arts. But I wasn't clear who the members of that arts awareness team was. Was it the community, or was it just school staff members? But their program itself, where they involve all the community in funding, and I thought it was really creative that they had some auctioneers that were going to be a part of an online auction. The ideas representing IDEA were good. And since they are also serving seniors with programming, what is the input of seniors and their representation with planning? And I guess it's because I'm getting older that I think seniors should be represented more, but I appreciate their inclusion in the project itself. I thought the budgeting was fine, and I hope that they have many more years of this type of program.
Great, thank you so much, Kathy. Barbara?
Yes, West Crawford's Arts Program presents a defined and disciplined program for the students that provides instruction throughout the school year. And it's not just chopped up at certain times, it's continuous. Their purpose was well stated and organized, and it provides art exploration with brainstorming, studying artists, reading and performing music, and developing personified art expression. In my past experience, I know that in Japan, the Suzuki method of learning music is based on exposure to the arts at a very young age by listening and observing talents of others. West Community is providing their resources to children at the young age with the Head Start and preschool program, which I feel is very important. And in turn, everybody profits from this. I was really impressed with the local sheriff's barbecuing skills for the arts dinner. And I thought that was a very nice touch for their program. And it demonstrates a well-defined planning committee. Even though the lead project manager is young, she will develop alongside the assistance of the previous project manager. And I think that will be necessary for her to grasp the challenge that she has.
Thank you, Barbara. Other comments from the rest of the panel? Jane?
I was going to mention, that I really did like the idea components that they mentioned. But I would like to hear more about strategies about how they're making marginalized groups feel more welcome into these activities. For example, how do you make sure that non-Christian or non-religious students are comfortable with the caroling exercise at the nursing home? To really kind of dig deep there and making sure that they're thinking about all the different groups that could be represented.
Great feedback. Starla?
I enjoyed seeing the virtual assignments that were given over the past year. And I think that planning is appropriate, but I didn't feel like the application listed the specific performances that the children might be planning to attend this next future year, and what the ideas are of exactly what they're going to present this next year. But all that, though, I thought that the listing of past events was impressive.
Great. Other comments?
My comment was that, again, I feel like the input from previous years could have been used to specifically address how the programming for this year was pulled together. And on the marketing materials that were provided, they were specific to a fundraiser that happens. I would like to see marketing materials for the event itself, such as the concerts or the art fairs. That would have been helpful.
Great, thank you. Other comments? All right, go ahead and update your scores. For the West Crawford Elementary, and once you're done updating your scores for Arts Project Support, for our last application, that will conclude the Arts Project Support review for this morning, and then we will move on to Arts Organization Support. I want to thank all of the Arts Project Support review panelists for outstanding feedback. That was very thorough, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure it will benefit the applicants, so thank you for all of that. If you are not moving on to the Arts Organization Support portion of this panel, you are welcome to leave. If you would like to stay and just listen in, please just take yourself off video and just listen in. Briefly does anybody want to take a little break before we move into AOS? If you do, just a quick thumbs up. All right, we will just move into AOS. So let me go ahead and switch screens. Looks like everybody might be wanting to take a break though. Okay, we're gone down to our panelists. Great. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Okay, so we have remaining with us for the Arts Organization Support portion, Kendra, Lindsey, and who's our other AOS panelist? Or is it just
Starla.
Oh, and Starla. Okay, great. All right, wonderful panelists. Let's go ahead and get started for our operating support. So first, I want to actually provide a statement as to why the process is different this year. So let me grab that document. And I want to say that on behalf of the Indiana Arts Commission. I want to share a few words in that. First and foremost, of course, thank you for sharing all your time and experience. You've participated in specialized training to prepare for this work, which this year included how to reduce implicit bias in the actual review process. And you've spent, I'm sure, more than a few hours reviewing the applications and lending your expertise to assure a high quality process. And we really appreciate you for that. To all here and those listening in, we want to say a few words about why this year's panel process is different for Arts Organization Support, as longtime panel observers will soon discover. We've been very clear from the beginning of this upcoming grant cycle and the guidelines, the applications, and training that our focus would be on what's really important right now, and that is to responsibly support our arts organizations at this critical time. And for this grant cycle, that means supporting organizations that demonstrate they are operating and will continue to operate during the FY22 grant period. As a result of these changes, you may hear very little dialogue and feedback that in no way reflects a lack of dedication to a thorough evaluation process. It is merely a reflection of the unique time and unique process. But I do want to thank you for all you do for the arts in Indiana. This panel will first review the application pool for operating support and then for merit award consideration, as each has a very distinct process. For both processes, if we have a conflict, that individual will be moved to the waiting room, but I don't believe we do have a conflict. Let me first go over the review process for operating support. In this process, panelists will be coming to consensus. They will use a summary sheet that has the results of their individual pre-panel assessments, which were based upon organizational resiliency. The panel will come to consensus for each application to make one of the following recommendations to the Indiana Arts Commission. Yes, to recommend the application for funding as is. No, to not recommend funding the application. Or yes, recommend funding the application with required modifications. The required modifications will be determined by the panel, and that means that IAC and our regional arts partners will follow up with the applicants after the panel to collect information to ensure the panel's concerns are addressed. Once a decision has been made for each application, the staff will record the decision, and once the review for operating support is complete, we'll move to the merit process. For the merit review process, all applications all the applicants who elected to submit for merit consideration were assigned a reader, and today the panel will use that reader process to discuss the applications. As with the arts project support, after the first reader is finished, I will open the discussion for the rest of the panel. As this is a smaller process, we won't have first and second, just a first reader. Once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, I'll ask the panelists to update their scores in the online system. So let's go ahead and get started. So on this, for you all, the panel, you are going to be looking at your summary sheet for resiliency. And we're going to start with the summary area in green, which is where you all had a consensus to recommend the applications for funding. But I do want to give you the opportunity to weigh in and provide any feedback on any of those applications in that list. So please review that list, and if you have any comments on any of the applicants, please let me know. Okay. Hearing no comments, then do we have consensus from the panel to go ahead and recommend the applications in green for funding to the Arts Commission? If you do want to recommend, go ahead and put a thumbs up.
But I'm sorry, Paige, what list are we looking at? I don't see that.
Oh, Elsa, did you give them the resiliency pre-assessment?
I hate to say I may not have.
Okay, that's okay. We'll just,
Can we bring that up, or should we not do that?
I'll go ahead and just list them up. Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. So here's the following applications that you all agreed on in your pre-assessments to recommend for funding. And that includes the Arts Council of Southern Indiana, the Carnegie Center for Art and History, Harrison County Arts, and Madison Area Arts Alliance. And I'm happy to review that list again. If you want to go ahead, and we could do it individually too. Let's go ahead and start with the Arts Council of Southern Indiana. Is everybody in agreement to recommend this application to the Commission for funding? If not, please raise any concerns that you may have. Everybody in agreement? Thumbs up. Okay. All right. We have consensus to recommend for funding the Arts Council of Southern Indiana. Next, we're going to look at Carnegie Center for Arts and History. Any concerns regarding this application? Hearing none, are you all in consensus agreement to recommend Carnegie Center for Art and History for funding? Thumbs up if you all agree. Excellent. The panel is in consensus to move Carnegie Center for Art and History forward for recommendation of funding to the Arts Commission. Next up, we have Harrison County Arts. Anybody have any concerns about Harrison County Arts being recommended for funding? As you are all in unanimous yes for these applications. Everybody good? All right. Harrison County has been recommended by consensus for funding to the Arts Commission. And the last in the green where you all had consensus yes, recommend for funding is Madison Area Arts Alliance. Do we have consensus to move them forward for funding, or does anybody have any concerns they wish to share? Recommend for funding? Thumbs up? Okay, excellent. Elsa, Madison Area Arts Alliance has by consensus been recommended for funding. The next application is Clarksville Little Theater. And for Clarksville, we had some yes with recommendations. And as a reminder, yes with simply means that the IAC or the partner, Elsa, will follow up with the applicant to have those concerns addressed before moving it forward for funding. So please, if anybody had a concern, let's raise that now for discussion. Lindsey?
Basically, I said yes with, and I'm totally not opposed to funding them. Just an emergency plan in case there is an uptick or they would have to close down for an extended period of time again. I would like to see an emergency plan included. You know, I realize Clarksville Little Theater, it's totally audience-based, but could they do more things such as virtual performances and things like that? So just a backup plan.
Okay. Other comments? Other things that you would like to recommend for yes with modifications?
I recommended yes with modifications and pretty much echo the same comments that Lindsey just brought up.
Okay, specifically an emergency plan?
An emergency plan, or just to provide information on how the theater could reopen and how regular performances could begin again in this grant cycle.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm hearing that the panel wishes by consensus to make a recommendation for funding Clarksville Little Theater with the following modifications, and an emergency plan that also encompasses how the theater could reopen and go back to performing within the upcoming grant period. All in agreement with that? Does that sound like a fair assessment, y'all? Okay, excellent. We have consensus. The next application for review and discussion is Madison Art Club. And that one we have some consensus, but also some concern. And again, having concern is really not that big of a deal. We just follow up. So anybody want to share what concern that they had with the required modifications potentially for Madison Art Club?
It's basically the same thing as before. Just I would like to see a disaster plan, an emergency plan, something like that.
Are you also looking for more clarification about how they will continue operations in the fiscal year? Okay. Programmatically. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts? Any other concerns? Any other discussion? All right. Is the rest of the panel good with the consensus to recommend Madison Art Club for funding with a modification of an emergency plan on how they will continue operations in the new fiscal year? Does that sound good for everybody? Starla, you game? All right, cool. Awesome. Well, we are good to go. Thank you, everyone. That is actually a pretty simple process, and we want to go ahead and conclude that section for reviewing for operating support. And now we're going to move into the merit funding section. So let me get back to my notes real fast. Okay, so as a reminder, this is a different process, and unlike the last, the panelists will not be coming to consensus, just providing their assessment of the applicant's merit award submission, and then they'll update their scores accordingly. So I have the applications that we're going to be reviewing for merit funding, but I don't have the reader list. So I'm going to ask that Elsa let us know who the first reader is for our first application, which we will go in alphabetical order, and that will be the Arts Council of Southern Indiana.
And Lindsey is the first reader for merit for that one.
Thanks. And my comments are always short, sweet, to the point. The Arts Council, the Arts Alliance of Southern Indiana, through this, they were able to switch gears, offer food, arts, and comfort to the community while still providing and serving their community members, however, in a different manner than they were accustomed to. And they went above and beyond to do so. Arts Alliance has been around for several years. So yeah, that's it.
Great. Other comments from the panel? Hearing none, go ahead and update your score. The next application that will be reviewed for merit is Carnegie Center for Art and History.
Okay, and Lindsey, you're also up for this one.
Let me pull that up. Sorry.
Take
And the
your
reason
time.
I always look over is I have it on my desktop, which is to my left. So in case you're wondering, what is she looking at? All right. So I just had that offering virtual options is a wonderful way to connect with the community and may in fact reach more constituents. And youth can share the virtual options with their families, resulting in more people interacting with the programming that they do offer. Let's see what else. So.
Okay. Kendra or Starla, any other comments? No. Then we'll move on to Harrison County Arts.
And this will be Starla, who's our reader.
All right, Starla. Starla, you're muted, girl.
How about now? Okay, let's see. I thought it's impressive that they're looking for a brand new building, and just with their infrastructure, they've provided a new ramp to where to their facilities right now. I thought that it would be beneficial to see in the application what the two shows were that opened this past year in the gallery. I just thought there could be more specific information, but and that's all that I had for that one.
Other comments, Kendra or Lindsey? No? Okay. Go ahead and update your scores and queue up the next application, which is the Madison Area Arts Alliance.
And Kendra will be our reader for this one for merit.
Okay. Kendra?
Sure. So I thought that it was fantastic that the Madison Area Arts Council hosts a space for the meeting of the creatives and the community art cart. I think it would have benefited from some information on how the MAAA directly supports that project in ways beyond just providing the space for that meeting and that cart. And additionally, how that provides service for underrepresented or underserved members of their community. So I think that's it.
Great, thank you. Other comments? Okay, go ahead and update your scores, and then we will move on to Madison Art Club.
And Starla's going to be our reader for merit for this.
Okay. I had that the virtual programming during the pandemic was impressive, especially holding the holiday auction virtually. And the writing style could more clearly state how underserved communities such as nursing home residents and minors apply to exhibit at the gallery. And are there certain times when special exhibits occur, and how exactly are they organized? And I think that's all.
Okay, other comments? No? Okay. Go ahead and update your scores if you need to. And this officially concludes the advisory review panel discussion for arts organization support and arts project support for Region 12. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following the June quarterly business meeting. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact your grant program manager, which is Elsa Conboy. Thank you, everyone. And if I ask panelists to just go ahead and stay on for a little bit with me, and we'll go ahead and stop the live stream.